it's cold. Well, it's not cold, it's chilly, which is too bad because I have this really fun striped outfit on today, but I need a blanket. So that's what's gonna happen. In other news, I have so much to do, so I'm gonna really try to get through this review and my next review really quickly because I just realized I have about 6 books to review and I completely forgot about 4 of them. Maybe more like 3, but still. I need to do it before I forget, before those emotions go away. But these first 2 should be pretty easy for me because it is part of the Tamora Pierce collection. And so I've read them so many times that I think I can get through them. The first book is Trickster's Choice. Now, if you are unaware of Tamora Pierce, she's a fantasy writer and she started out with the Alianne series. She has since kind of gone back in time and she did start her whole world with the Becca Cooper series, but this Trickster's Choice and Trickster's Queen actually follow her daughter Alianne. Forgive me if I say that wrong, if it's Alianne, anywho, Allie, that's what we call her, or Ollie. The narrator calls her Ollie. Call her whatever you want. Trickster's Choice and Trickster's Queen follow her escapades. Trickster's Choice. We start out with Ollie coming back from the capital and she's just like, you know, hey dad, I'm back. And yeah, I dyed my hair blue. Can I help you because you're the spy master? And he's like, oh, but don't you want to do normal teenager things? And she's like, well, teenagers my age and particularly boys my age, they don't challenge me. So can I help you? And he's like, here's some little things for you to do, but really your mother would not approve if she knew that I was letting you help me, so no. And what Allie decides to do is sail off to some family friends and spend some time there because her mother has been able to come home for a short period of time from war, and she's like, all right, I'm gonna give my parents time to themselves and like let my mom cool down about the fact that I have blue hair. But yes, during her little voyage to wherever she's going, she gets caught by slavers and they sell her off to the Balitong family. And the Balitongs are, so the whole thing is actually, the story starts with this prophecy and it has to do basically with 2 races of people, like the white man and the Raka. The Raka had been fighting amongst themselves, and then they were so weak that the white man was able to come in and kind of destroy their reign. However, at some point, the chosen one, the destined one, the prophesied one would come and she would be of 2 lines. What happens is the king, because yes, now the Luaran reign is getting kind of, and so the king is really paranoid and he thinks all kinds of people are out to get him. And so he's like, all right, so the Balitong household, you need to prove your loyalty. And in order to afford that, they have to sell essentially everything they have. And then they move to the lands that okay, so a little background here. Mequin, who is the head of the Balitong house. However, he had a first wife who was Raka. They had Sarai and Dove. She dies and then he remarries another lady. So in their attempts to get in to stay in the king's good graces, they moved to these lands that had once belonged to the first wife. This is a realm of magic and gods and all that kind of stuff. And so the Raka god is Kyprioth. He wants to regain his throne. When the Luaran came in and threw the Raka off the throne, he was then essentially thrown from his throne, you like that, by the great mother goddess and Mithros. And so he wants his throne back. He wants his people back. He wants his people to remember him so he can, even though he's a minor god, he wants them to remember him so that he can regain his power and strength. And so he has enlisted Ollie, or Allie, whatever you want to call her, it's midnight. He kind of plucked her out of her little voyage and he placed her with the Balitongs. However, the Luaran, Mequin and his wife, Winamine, they don't necessarily adhere or recognize Kyprioth as their god, but they do recognize Mithros. So he pretends to be Mithros, and he finagles her a spot amongst the household that is going to this new location. And then the prophecy also says there are going to be a select few. Forgive me, I don't remember. There's like the wise one, the cunning one, the strong one, the whatever. It's just like 5 of them. If you start putting pieces together, you might figure out who Allie might end up being. But what happens along the way, and then kind of once they get to this location, she realizes that like kind of the head of staff, the head kitchen, the head manservant, the head guy at arms, like they're all full Raka. And so she's like, I'm really clever. So I'm gonna guess you guys are the head of the Raka conspiracy to try to get a Raka back on the throne. After initial suspicions, they let her in on the plan. She kind of goes along. At first she's a slave and she's in charge of goats and stuff, but it's all also under the guise of her, like, because Mequin and Winnemine know that she's the god touched. And so whatever she does, they let her do, but under the guise of her servitude. And so she's able to get the lay of the land. She's able to kind of figure out this, that, and the other. And then she's able to enlist a mage. And this mage, I think she's quite funny. Her name is Ochabu, and she hates Luaran, whether they are from the Copper Isles or whether they are not, which is Allie's case. She's not from the Copper Isles. They are able to convince her. And they also gain unlikely allies, and that would be the crows. The crows are also connected to Kyprioth. They're very special to him. And there's one crow in particular named Nawat who takes an interest in Allie, and he decides to become human in order to kind of live with her, to help her understand more crow stuff. Anywho, the wrench in the mix is that, okay, I'm a little confused about all this, and my time to go to bed brain is not wanting to put the pieces together because I know I understand it. The king has many siblings, and I think one of the siblings is a female, and by their rules, she's not allowed to gain the throne. But she is married to, her name is Imogen. She's married to a guy named Rubignon, who has a brother named Bronau. And so Bronau is friends with the Balitong. So he's older. He's in his 40s. He comes in because he's not necessarily in the greatest favor with the king either. He begins kind of court Sarai, and so throughout the book, we're just like, okay, what are Sarai's real feelings? Because of the two, she's a bit flightier, a little bit more superficial, strong-willed. And so it seems that she is the natural choice for the throne. So Bronau comes and he hangs out with them, and then he leaves and he's like, all right guys, I'm gonna help get you back in the king's favor, but nothing really happens. He returns, like Kyprioth comes and gets Allie's spirit or consciousness or whatever, and he shows her that the king has died, and then he shows her that the next successor dies, and then he shows her that the final successor is basically this 4-year-old kid. And so then Bronau tries to kidnap this child. It goes wrong, so he has to escape. So now he returns, and they all know that it's not under the best circumstances, although they can't let him know they know. Anywho, of course, Mequin and Winnemine don't really want to believe anything bad about him. So even though Allie's like, watch out, watch out, watch out, they're like, oh, we need to see the best in people. We're getting into some spoilers here. Bronau has snuck people into this place that they're living, which is a very isolated plateau, kind of island-ish. His goal is to because Mequin is, I guess, kind of next in line to the throne. And so what he wants to do is have Mequin abdicate so that he can marry Sarai and then be king. Allie and her forces stop him. However, he fatally wounds Mequin. So we lose Mequin, we lose like one of the major Rockhawk conspirators. In the end, Allie's dad is able to locate her because Kyprioth had been keeping people, her family and friends, from finding her. So yes, then George shows up and Allie realizes, so she, just like Kyprioth made a bet with the crows, he'd also made a bet with Allie. But Allie realizes that the bet wasn't necessarily that she could keep the girls safe during this summer, but it was to keep the girls safe through an extended period of time in which one of the girls ends up on the throne. It's a really exciting story, a really great book. It has always been one of my favorites. I don't mind the narration either. However, I have begun to notice that this one is not as great as I remember. And even though it's better than Alianne, it's better than the Immortals, it still has room to grow, which is when you can see the real growth with Becca Cooper. Like baby steps. Each successive series that Tamora Pierce writes, it just gets better. Her writing becomes more refined. But what really bothers me about this book is something that continues to bother me with all of her books, in that Allie is so capable. As much as I enjoy her intelligence and her abilities, and just for those of you who enjoy strong female characters, this is a really strong female character. You will always get strong female characters from Tamora Pierce. But she's 17-ish, take a year, and I guess we're supposed to accept her capabilities because she grew up at the hand of Tortal's spy master, as well as at the knee of Tortal's champion. And you know, not only do they hold those positions, but they are very intelligent, capable people themselves. So naturally, she is going to be a smart woman who knows what she wants and can do whatever she sets her mind to. That's not necessarily my problem. My problem is she really has no fault. She has no obstacles. There is one instance in this book in which she's like, I should have seen that coming. I was just too lazy. But other than that, I didn't really like how mature she felt, because they call her Dwani because she is essentially their spy master. So she's the one coming up with all the plans, making sure that people are safe, making sure that things are set in motion. And so it's not that I have a problem with that so much, in which she has the skill set to pull off a coup, but all of the people in her group treat her like she has more authority than they do. And I don't know, agree to disagree as to whether or not she actually does. I would think that even though she's chosen by the gods or chosen by Kyprioth, does that mean that she has more importance than the Rockhawk conspirators? Yes, sure, maybe she's a little bit more obvious and maybe her appearance spurs things on a little bit quicker, but that's kind of her whole purpose. Kyprioth's like, I'm tired of waiting. Nothing's happening. I need you. I need you to be the flame, to be the spark. But it's like, except for that one instance, she's so cool, calm, and collected. She always knows more than other people. Nothing catches her off guard. Like, she always has a plan A, B, C, Z. And it's almost unbelievable. It gets to a point where I cannot swallow it anymore. I wish she would quit being so smug. I wish she would quit having an answer for everything. I wish she would stop being prepared before she even knew she'd need to be prepared. I know some of that really can go along with her upbringing. If her dad, who used to be king of the thieves and is now the spy master, has taught her anything of what he has known and has used to survive himself, then yeah, I'm sure she's gonna know how to be prepared before she knows how to be prepared. But I really wanted her to act her age, but then she carries this confidence into everything she does, and I'm just like, where are your insecurities? Where are your problems? Where are the things that help me to connect to you? I mean, granted, I'm far beyond her years, and I guess I did connect more with her. Trying to remember when this book came out. I was not a teenager when this book came out. I think I was in my early 20s when this book came out. Although I could be wrong. Time is an accordion at a certain point in life where it all goes year, and it's like, meh. In any case, when I was younger, I definitely connected with her better. Yeah, Tamora Pierce, she just neglected to give Allie flaws. And that is something she does with all of her protagonists. All of her good guys are so good. They never mess up. They all have hearts of gold. They're all the most powerful, most skilled, most capable, most intelligent. And they all just love each other. They're all incredibly inclusive, which is not a problem. Do not get me wrong. I have no problems with inclusivity. But rare is the moment where they suspect somebody. Rare is the moment where they dislike somebody. If they dislike somebody, it's because that somebody deserves to be disliked, not because they just don't get along. You know, we can have all kinds of good people that just have clashing personalities, and we don't get that here. And so it trickles into Allie as well. And so if I do have any problem, it is that Allie lacks flaws. So I went back through my notes, and Allie is actually 15, not 17, but that's really neither here nor there. I want to talk about characterization a little bit more, because I guess that is essentially what weakens this novel for me. On one hand, Pierce does an excellent job at characterizing all of her characters. They're all very unique. They all have their own voices. They all serve a purpose. However, like I said with Allie, they lack fault. They lack flaws. I'd say the only one who really gives me any feels, if you will, that really makes me think she's got some mystique to her is Sarai. I naturally lean towards Dove because she's more level-headed, she's a reader, yeah, she's just a smart girl who doesn't act before she thinks. But I've noticed how she's only 12, but she really acts like an 80-year-old, someone far wiser than her years. And I know that's how she's supposed to be, okay? But again, just like Allie, can't we have characters that are suitable to their age? Does their maturity level always have to far exceed their age? The two exceptions to this would be Sarai and Nawat. Because Nawat, even though when he transforms from a crow into a human, he's like 17 in body, he's a child in mind, because in crow years, he is a child. So he has that going for him, plus all the things that he has to learn as a human. So yeah, he's very young, very naive, very juvenile. On one hand, I liked that. It was very refreshing to have a character who had the leeway to ask questions that made Allie stop and think, to make her reconsider, why is she doing this? why does she think that? Why does she want this? But then there were just moments where I felt he was almost too childish. Allie had some moments too where she's so mature, so capable, but then she would giggle. I'm like, that is totally not an Allie thing to do. So it's like Nawat is presented as this, yeah, you know, he's young, but he's very wise in the way of crows. He's very introspective. And then he would just say and do things that, I mean, particularly in terms of romance. He wants to romance Allie. He wants to nest with Allie, to pouch feed Allie. And she's like, I think not. In terms of stuff like that, where he bothers me, because it's like this whole 180, but only for a little bit. Just like with Allie, she'll have this 180, but just for a minute. And I'm like, you can't do that to me. Like, if you're gonna be this way, you gotta have it threaded throughout. It can't just be a moment here and a moment there. It's almost like Pierce said, oh, gotta give him a moment. Gotta give him a moment. And now we're moving on. As for Sarai, I do think in many ways she's the strongest character, even though she has some moments where I'm just like, dude, Sarai, seriously? But she's the one character I don't quite know what she's thinking, which both satisfies me and annoys me. As I mentioned with Bronow, he wants to court Sarai, and he kind of does, and she kind of lets him. And then Allie's like, I don't know if you should do that. One, he's old. Two, you don't know what his intentions are. Like, even before the whole kidnapping thing, like, honestly, if a 45-year-old man tried to court me, I mean, I know rules and traditions and all that are different now than they were, I don't know, in like medieval times, which this book isn't actually medieval times, but it's definitely a simpler time. If a 45-year-old were coming to court me and at 16 or 17, I'd be like, no. So I liked that I never quite knew what her intention was with Bronow. Why was she reacting to his attentions in certain ways? But then I think my problem with the whole scenario was Allie would approach her and be like, look, be careful. I don't know if it's a great idea. And she'd say, of course it's not, and I'm not serious. So her words say one thing, but then her actions say another. Like in the end of the book, I forgot to mention this. He fatally wounds Mequin, but Sarai kills him. And so after she kills him, of course there is that period of shock. But then she's upset because, like, oh, I killed my lover. Or not even lover, because they weren't sleeping together. But it's like, why are you having such a severe reaction to someone you didn't actually care about? So I never, it bothered me that her actions were different than her words. And so I could never quite figure out where I'm supposed to stand with her. It almost made me not want her to be their chosen one, because what were her standards? Her behavior, nothing about her behavior told me she would be a good queen. Okay, yes, she is fierce, she stands up for herself, but if she is going to be easily swayed by, I don't even know why she was easily swayed by Bronow. I guess, yeah, he was maybe attractive in some way. I honestly do not know. I've never figured this out. Maybe because the whole May-December thing has always grossed me out. But I'm like, if you're able to be swayed by this kind of a person, then why should I want you to be the queen? You know, I'd much rather have Dove, who says things that make sense, even though she acts 8 times her age. In terms of the writing, there's just a lot of wordiness I felt in this book. They could have been more succinct. either exposition or dialogue. Adverbs, adverbs, adverbs. I really hate that I hate adverbs, because if you're a writer, before you learn about the evil of adverbs, you love adverbs. And then someone smacks you across the face with the fact that adverbs are no-goes. So every time you see an adverb, you're like, nope, 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 nope. And it completely takes the joy out of reading, because you're like, nope, 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 nope. It definitely feels like a book where Pierce, even though she's wildly successful at this point, is still finding her footing, still trying to mature in her craft. What else? I'm so tired. I don't know if I'm gonna make it to Trickster's Queen. It's like 1:15 in the morning. Yeah. Foot problems, people. Take care of your bodies. And so I have 2 more things that I'm gonna talk about, and I'm gonna get out of here, and then you can give me your feedback. This one is being real nitpicky. But as I have mentioned, Allie is so mature, right? Girl does not act like a 15-year-old. But so if you know anything about the Alianne series or the Immortals series, you know that there's a character named Numair. He marries Dane from the Immortals series, and they have this super great relationship with Alana and George and that crew from the Alianne series. He is an uncle figure to Allie. And so she therefore calls him Uncle Numi. Am I the only one that thinks that's the stupidest name ever? Especially because, okay, yeah, if it's the childhood nickname, I'll accept it. I can even accept the fact that she's still calling him Uncle Numi because things become a habit. But for her mental frame of mind, I would have thought she would have grown out of that. Been like, all right, you know what? I think it's time I grew up a little bit with this nickname and just called him Uncle Numair. But every time we get a reference to Uncle Numi, I just want to gag. I just want to turn around and be like, seriously? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Oh my gosh. It never fails. From my first read to my last read, major eye roll at Uncle Numi, okay? Finally, there's a bit of a need for suspense, and it's a really great plot. It is, okay? Don't get me wrong, it's an enjoyable read, but because Allie is so capable, and as I said, plans ahead, she's ready for everything, there's no surprise. You know, nothing catches her off guard, therefore, nothing can catch us off guard. There's not gonna be any tension. Sure, in the climax, when Bronow runs Mechwood through with the sword, we're like, oh no! Or, you know, even though we know that, yeah, he has snuck people into where they live, and we're like, okay, but when is something going to take place? Yeah, okay, there's a little bit of tension there, but overall, we have so many layers of protection that it's like, where's the danger? You know, even though we know that the danger is inside the walls, because we know the danger is inside the walls, there is no danger because we've already set up our guys to protect us. I wish there had been moments where I was like, whoa, did not see that happening. Whoa, I'm really worried. Like, is everybody gonna be okay? Guys, I need a nap. Not a nap, I need a really good night's sleep. This book will be one that I continue to recommend to people, especially those of you who love fantasy. And it's really not as bad as Alianne, which I've got to read the rest of that series, and it's sad when you don't want to read what used to be your favorite series. And then the Immortals with Dane, I've got to read that too. Well, actually, I only have to read 2 of those because I've already read the last 2. Technically, I read the first 2, but hadn't decided if I wanted to do this channel yet, so I didn't do any reviews on them. But by the time I decided to do this channel, I had read the last two, and I was like, I'm gonna talk about them and see what happens. I hope you liked this review. I hope it wasn't too all over the place. I really shouldn't do this when I should be asleep, but time is of the essence. There's so much to do in life that if I don't sit down and do it right away, it's not gonna get done, as evidenced by the fact that I read this book 3 months ago. What was that? What? Nothing. See you later. Stay tuned for Trickster's Queen. Please like, subscribe, comment, show me some love. You know, tell me what you think. I do enjoy getting to talk to you guys. Adieu.